So today we're going to find out what you can do if you are unable to factor. All right, so some of you already read the objective for today. It's called completing the square. All right, so yesterday was factoring. All right, that's what you're trying to do every time first. If you start trying to factor but you can't, then you can possibly use completing the square. And I'll show you when we're going to use this, okay? So the first thing I need to teach you is what does it mean to complete the square? It's like a skill before we actually use the skill. All right, so I'm going to have their pen or pencil out, ready to write down for example 1. Okay, the way you're going to complete the square is you're always going to add b over 2 squared. You're always going to add b over 2 squared every time.
That's like a formula?
Yeah, you're going to have to memorize that. b over 2 squared. Okay, so now you, if you were here yesterday, you should know what our letter b is. What is our letter b in example 1?
14.
It's negative 14. It's negative 14. It's always the number in front of x for b, letter b. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put negative 14 over 2 squared. Does everyone see why I replaced b with negative 14? Okay, so what is negative 14 divided by 2? Negative 7. And somebody said it? It's 49. All right, so 49 is the number I'm going to use to complete the square. So I'm going to write down x squared minus 14x plus 49. Okay, I'll pause here. Yes, Chris. No? Fernando, do you have a question? Okay. Great. All right, so you have just completed the square. Do you see the first statement says complete the square? We did. All right, but the second statement says to write the expression as a binomial squared, which is kind of a mini way of saying factor this. All right, so I'm going to show you how to factor this the way we did yesterday, and then you're never going to do this again because it's always like this. It follows a pattern. Okay, so what's C? 49. What's A? 1. So what's 1 times 49?
Where'd you get the negative 7?
Where'd I get the negative 7? I divided negative 14 divided by 2 using b over 2 squared. Okay, what is our b value? It's the same, negative 14. So what are two numbers that when you multiply them, you get 49, and when you add them, you get negative 14? It's actually negative 7 and negative 7. It's the same. It will always be the same. It doesn't matter. If it was positive, it will all be the same. It will always be the same number today. Okay? So based on yesterday, you would have written x minus 7 times x minus 7, right? Based on yesterday's example 1. But it's not yesterday. We want to write this, since they're the same, we want to write it as a binomial square.
Oh my God.
Okay? So I'm looking for two things on these problems. I'm looking for completing the square, that step there, and then writing it as a binomial square. So what I want you to think of when you're doing this, use a different color. You can always think this will always be x plus b over 2 squared. You don't have to write it down, but I'm just telling you, my brain knows. All right, somebody asked about the negative 7, right? That was you, Fernando, right? Do you guys see this is b over 2, it's negative 14 over 2, which was negative 7. So you just slot that right in every time. Every time. We'll do another example. You don't have to do the work. Let's do another example without the work. That's in this problem, yeah, this is a skill to do something more complicated soon.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Let's try another example. Sergio, you got this. Let's sit up. You got this.
So it's going to be working for every time.
Yes, it'll be every time.
Okay.
Let's do example 2.
Without the work.
Well, I mean, with some work, but not the work from yesterday. Yeah, we're all doing quadratics from now until Christmas. It's quadratics all the time. Let's do example 2. So x squared plus 4x plus something. All right? You're always thinking to add b over 2 squared. All right, so Nathan, what is b? 4. Okay, so what is 4 divided by 2.
2.
2, so write that. And what's 2 squared? Is 4. So you're going to write down x squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay, now watch this. This is where it gets cool. Okay? So on the last example, I showed you how to factor. But today is not about factoring. Wait for it. Today is not about factoring. Okay? Does everyone see this 2 here? Before I squared it, right, and got 4, it was a 2. So you're always going to factor this as x and this number squared every time. Okay, Nathan, question? Which 2? This 2? 4 divided by 2 is 2. Victoria H. For this? Oh, I just rewrote this, and then whatever this number is, Victoria H, is going to go in that box, so right there. Hold on, Maria, and then Carlos. So this is what I'm saying. It's always going to be like this, Marina. Go back to your work. What was the number before you squared it? It's always going to be next to that x, and then all of it squared. Every time. Like, look at it before in example 1.
That's the answer.
That's all. It's a skill, right? It's a skill. It's called completing the square. Look here, Marina. Remember the minus 7 before we squared it? Yes? Minus 7. Okay. Every time. Carlos, did I answer your question? X. I can go back to that one. Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm going Victoria and then Daniel. The blue thing. This is what I was trying to show you. It's always going to be in this form when you factor it, right? When it says write the expression as a binomial squared, you're always going to use this number, which is b over 2. Okay, Victoria. You never have to do this work. You got it. Great question. Daniel.
How do you use that in the quadratic? Like,
Love it. Here we go.
is there going to be an empty space?
Here we go. Daniel, you've got it, right? How are we going to use this? It's time to use it. Let's use it. All right? So, today, we're using something called completing the square to solve a quadratic when we are unable to factor it. Okay? So let me just show you. Don't write this down. So do not write this down. Pen or pencil is down. Let me show you the process for this one if it was yesterday. Okay? So we have A is 1, B is 6, and C is negative 15. So if we're thinking about yesterday, what is A times C? Negative 15. What is B? It is 6. So what are some factors of negative 15? 3 and, hold on, 3 and negative 5, right? One of them needs to be negative. Negative 1 and 15. Keep going, let's get the rest of them. There we go, negative 3 and 5. Thank you. Negative 15 and 1? Right? That's it. Do any of these pairs, when you add them, give you 6? That gives you negative 2, 14, positive 2, negative 14. So can we factor this? No. So we can't factor it. All right? What is my A value? 1. If A is 1 and you cannot factor it, then you are good to go to complete the square. Pick up your pencil or pen. Pick it up. Pick up your pen or pencil. Yes. Great question. Tomorrow. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my work for b over 2 squared. Okay? You should be writing this down. You should be writing this down. This is what we did on example 1 and 2. You need b over 2 squared. To complete the square, you're going to see. You're going to see where I'm going to put it. Okay? So what is b? I wrote it down. 6. So what's 6 divided by 2? 3. And so 3 squared is 9. So 9 is that first number I'm thinking of. But Daniel's right. Where am I going to put it? So here's the first thing you have to do. You're going to write x squared plus 6x, but you're going to leave a space. You can already imagine what I'm going to put here. I'm going to complete the square here. Where's that negative 15 got to go? To the other side. Not away, other side, where it becomes a positive 15. That's the most common mistake that I see is when students move it over, they forget to change the sign. So don't forget, the sign changes. Okay, pause here. Questions? Pause here. Questions? Is that a question? Okay, I haven't done that yet, right? Is there a question so far?
Why do we move it?
Why do we move it? So we can leave space to complete the square. Why do we complete the square? So we can factor it. Because I can't factor this, right? I just showed you I can't. If I complete the square, I can factor it. Yes?
If it was positive, it would be negative.
If it was a positive 15, it'd be negative 15. You got it.
Yesterday, what we were doing, it was equal to 0.
It was equal to 0.
And now it's equal to 15.
Well, right now it is. We'll get back to it. Don't worry. Yeah, we're basically saying, here it is. I can't factor it. I got to do something else. Here's the something else. So, remember that 9 you just wrote? That 9 is going to basically take the space of that negative 15. Okay? Now, you guys learned, probably in middle school, early high school, whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So if I add 9 there, I got to add 9 over there. So now I have x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 24. Now, here's the reason I did that, because many students are like, why did you do this? I did this because now x squared plus 6x plus 9 can be factored. And I just showed you with the first 2 examples how it factors. It always factors as x, go back. So everyone see the 9? Look at your 9 in your paper. Go back a step. What was in parentheses? The 3. So it's going to be x plus 3 squared. No, because it doesn't say x equals, right, something. But I'm going to pause here. Yes, Bella?
Why'd you add the 9 at the end?
Why did I add the 9? I added the 9 here so I can factor it. If I do it here, I got to do it to the other side, Bella. Right? Don't ever tell your chemistry teacher about that, because balancing equations, you got to do that too. I love it. Yes. Question?
What is it doing?
I'm sorry? What is this doing what? Okay, great. If it doesn't help us, then I don't need it. So, x plus 3 squared equals 24. Rewrite it. Rewrite it. Rewrite it.
Is this not like make like measurements for houses?
Measurements for houses? I don't build houses, so I'm not sure. If you become a person who builds houses, then you let me know if you use this. Now, does everyone see the square? Does everyone see the square? I don't want that to be squared, because ultimately I need it to be x equals, not x squared. So how do I get rid of a square? You take the square root. If I take the square root of this side, you got to take the square root of the other side. Okay? Now watch this. Now watch this. You took the square root of something squared. Whenever you take the square root of anything squared, those are inverse operations, so they go away. So all that's left is x plus 3. That's one of the cool things about math. Marina, you still with us? Great. Now, do you remember that square root I put on the 24? Did you write it? Did you personally write it? Then you've got to put plus or minus in front of it. Because you're not just saying the positive square root of 24, you're also saying the negative version of the square root of 24. So there's going to be 2 answers here. Think back to yesterday, we pretty much had 2 answers every time. Now we're almost done. Does it say x equals? It's close though, right? It says x plus 3 equals. So how do I move this 3 to the other side? Subtract. So here's the answer. Ready? X equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 24. That's it. But it's not done. That's the answer. I'll be honest with you. That's the answer. But it's not done. No, you don't have to plug it in. The reason it's not done is because you can actually simplify the square root of 24. But that's not what this class is about today. All right, so if you wrote this, I'd be okay with that today. Yes. Did I say test? Whoa. Said today. Well, I think I made it very clear. Today, it's cool. The test, not cool. Yes. Yeah, let me finish it, right? All right, if you look at the square root of 24, all right, can you guys think of factors of 24? 6 and 4. What else?
8 and 3.
2 and 12, 8 and 3. You guys said 2 and 12, 8 and 3, 6 and 4. There's only one perfect square that you said. No. 6 and 4. Right? That's the only pair of them that had a perfect square in it. Because 2 is not perfect, 12 is not perfect, 3 is not perfect, 8 is not perfect.
All right? So the square root of 4 is 2. So the answer on the test, Luis, better say 2 times the square root of 6.
Get better.
I'm sorry? I made it clear, right? Today, no. But on the test, yes. All right? And maybe if I'm feeling nice, I'll give you a calculator. Yes.
So the proper format is
Number plus or minus radical. You got it, Chris. Chris's brain is already on it. I will accept it if you put radical, but the plus or minus, it really needs to be the -3 plus that and -3 minus that. So there's two answers. Okay, there's two answers here for x. Okay, so here's what you're about to try.
but
Yeah, I'm not going to stop.
I have a question. Could we even more simplify?
Let's do